And we'll unmute ourselves. We'll turn this music down a little bit. And then, we'll do that thing we do.
I've already been doing it.
Oh, I already screwed it up. Yeah, there we are. Hello, Internet. Technical difficulties when you click the wrong button. That's a technical difficulty. It's a human technical problem.
I feel like every other one of these things begins with you going, technical difficulty.
Well, at one point we were saying this it should be called Technical Difficulties, the podcast.
Name. Probably should.
Hello, Internet. We are here once again for our bi-weekly podcast where Ryan and I just kind of talk about whatever we want. Typically, it turns out to be movies, television shows. If you can call them, can we call them TV shows anymore? Just shows. I've been trying to just say shows because TVs doesn't make any sense anymore.
But they still get played on television.
I watch 90% of my crap on my phone. Like I know. Well, my kids and stuff usually monopolize the TV if they're still TVs, and so I consume a vast majority of my media just on my phone. So it's just a show now. But shows, movies, comic books, board games, probably Gloomhaven every single episode of this.
I have this note that I just wrote down 10 minutes ago. It says, always Gloomhaven. Always.
So this is Gloomhaven, the podcast. For everybody out there who's watching. So as is tradition, I will just start off by saying it has been 2 weeks. Ryan, how you been? What have you been up to?
I'm good. I continue to go outside, which is awesome, but also not typical for me because once it gets hot, I'm usually like, no, thank you. But I've continued to go outside anyways, which is nice. Maybe helped by the fact that when I get home, this place that you see me in now has central air as of last Thursday, which makes coming home much more pleasurable.
That is a nice upgrade. That is quality of life upgrade right there. I refuse to live anywhere without central air since I was about 25. I never had it growing up, but once I had it in an apartment or whatever, it was like I can't do it. And unfortunately, we live in Michigan where it is either 30 below or 90 degrees with 98% humidity. So
yes,
it doesn't. We get rare days of like 70 to 80 weather. Today was great. Yesterday was great. But most days in the past several weeks, it feels like, has been hot and miserable outside. So
yeah, I mean, the Michigan, especially northern Michigan where we live, like it's pretty typical that like in July, like we get up to like the 80s and maybe a little bit in the 90s. But even on those days, it's not hot, except for, like you said, it's like 98, 99% humidity, like the entire summer.
Yeah, so it feels gross.
And then this year, on top of that, we've been like running in the 80s and 90s since like the end of May, pretty much. So it's just like magnified that much more. It's been really hot summer.
Yep. So, it's gross outside. Well, not today, but most days. No, I mean it's the same COVID story every fucking day for me. So we're here. We do it. We don't go anywhere, not because we're afraid of the virus, but because we're afraid of people, and we just don't want to deal. We're removing ourselves from society essentially until everybody stops losing their mind one way or the other. Our glorious ruler, the leader of Michigan, is tightening the screws harder and harder, so you're afraid to even walk outside because somebody's going to call the cops on you now and you're going to get some fine. And so we just do everything in our power not to leave the house, which is super depressing and very bad for mental health and regular health and everything else. So we're here, we're doing our thing. It is what it is.
Come on a disc golfing adventure sometime this summer.
Yeah, maybe, but I still feel like the second I show up there, somebody's gonna call and be like, "Yo, cops, you should go check out the damn disc golf course."
Yeah, nobody on the disc golf courses wears masks.
Right, that's the problem.
The governor's rule is outdoor stuff is fine.
Whatever.
Yes. In any case, I hear you. Uh, I have been eating pretty much restaurant and not healthy food for like the last 2 weeks just because I haven't wanted to go in the grocery stores, which is
Yeah.
dumb because I don't even care. Like I've been putting on a mask like more often than I really care to say. And it's okay. It's fine. Doesn't hurt anybody. Doesn't hurt me. But it's annoying to know that it is now a legal thing that can get you a fine, and or if you don't pay a fine, have somebody come knocking on your door wanting to know where their money is. And
Right.
by that somebody, I mean the government.
With a
So,
gun. Somebody with a gun.
right, exactly.
I'm not going to argue whatever validity you think the masks have, not you particular, anybody watching, but the idea that you want to send somebody with a gun after somebody who doesn't have the mask on, given what we know about things, is damn near ludicrous, and you should probably check yourself. Like, there's enough places that enforce the mask. There's enough places that don't. Let those who don't want to do it go to the places that don't want to do it, and let the places that handle it. Like,
Yeah. Like I think that's, I mean, we're very quickly going down the political path here, but I think we're both in agreement that like we don't really see it being a legal thing either way. Like if you as a business want to require masks for people to come in and do business with you, that is your prerogative and
100%.
your legal rights to turn anybody away for any reason, including not wearing a mask.
Yep. Yeah. I am 100% as far out there as that's possible. If you own a business, you have every right to deny or allow service to your heart contents. That's your business. And then as a consumer, if I hate you for doing whatever you're doing, then it's my right not to go in there. And there's so many choices in this country that there's never a reason that we should force anybody to do anything, because 5 feet away there's another Starbucks or another coffee shop or another grocery store or another whatever.
Exactly.
Like, so anyway, I know, hard tangent, but it's just, that's really, like, I got an Amber Alert this morning, like fucking made me crap my pants, scared me. I'm sitting here concentrating and my phone explodes. And I never have, my phone makes no noises ever. I don't allow it to because it becomes too much of a distraction. So it explodes, and it's her telling me that I better straighten up or we're sending guns after you. So it's hot on my mind today. I've been just fuming walking around the house like this. I mean, it hardly affects me because we have delivery services and things like that we never leave. I don't, like, it doesn't matter, but it's still just the principle of the thing is bonkers. So anyway, we don't have to stay on that unless you have something crazy you want to add. It's just,
Speaking of delivery services, did you see the thing on Slick Deals where Amazon had the 24 pack of the White Monsters for like $26?
I think I accidentally did that because I needed a refill. Because I love hating myself, so I drink Monster. But at least I limit myself to one a day, and I was running low, and I went to do it, and it's like, hey, clip this coupon, and it saved me like $7 or $9 or something, which, because it was at some, which is funny because that's like normally what I buy it at, but it was at some inflated $30-something one, but with the coupon it just brought it back down. So I was like,
Normal. So like so what you're saying is I bought into a non-deal, a fake deal.
It fluctuates hard. You have to watch. So it like goes in cycles, and I've seen it go anywhere from like $22 up to almost like $45, depending on it gets really wonky depending on what their supply is. I guess I don't know.
Probably.
But typically, if I just sit there and wait and I'm patient, eventually it'll get back into the 20s, and that's when I buy it. So that's like $1 a can or a little over.
Yeah.
Which is a good deal if you've ever bought stupid poisonous energy drinks to poison your body. They can be as pricey as like $3 or $4 for a can if you're not watching out, or you go someplace that's not so convenient.
Yeah.
Like,
The not so convenient convenience stores.
yeah, you find that convenience store in the middle of nowhere. They're charging $5 for a can of Rockstar and 30 extra cents for gas.
Those sort of places.
Yeah. Yep. So, yep, that's good. So order. I should put a affiliate link in the chat. Order your monsters. They're on sale right now.
Cans.
Um,
But they are delicious boys in cans, and they do give you that little rush.
They do definitely help. They are terrible. I feel it's better than pop though, only for this regard, because when I used to drink pop, which I haven't really drank pop in a very, very long time, other than the occasional, like, we get a free 2 liter with our pizza and we'll get a Diet Pepsi or something, which is terrible, poison in its own right, but it's very rare that we're sitting here chugging pop. But back in the day when I used to, like, I used to chug it, where I can just have like one of these garbage cans and I'm usually good for the day. I don't need another one. I don't usually crave a second one. Like, where pop, it was like,
Give me more.
I would just suck 2 liters and stuff down, which, and especially working in fast food for as long as I did, 90% of this problem wasn't the burgers I was huffing. It was the giant 32 ounces of Dr. Pepper I'd continuously refill every single day, over and over and over, which was awesome.
I know that feeling, that situation.
I'm glad I don't. Like, now if I have any sip of pop, like legit pop, like fully leaded pop, I instantly am like just grossed out. Like, it's sick. Yeah. I don't necessarily like the taste of Diet Pop either, but that I can at least handle a little more because it's not quite as sweet. But
I had a Mountain Dew for the first time in a really, really long time, and it was a fountain Mountain Dew, not a bottle Mountain Dew. For whatever reason, I just can't do anymore. Period. Like, I mean, I've not tried in forever, but there's something just about the bottle Mountain Dews where I'm just like, ugh, like, it's just too sweet, too much, just everything. But I had one from Fountain from some restaurant, I don't know where it was, and the first sip, it made me just go, oh, and it was delightful.
Who has the new KFC has a new Baja Blast alternative that is only at KFC.
Not surprised, since KFC and Taco Bell are like
parent companies or whatever.
Yeah.
At least they're very much in bed together.
Yes.
I forget what it was called.
Isn't that like KFC, some Southern Sweet Lightning or something like that, I think.
Sweet Lightning, you got it in one. I don't know what it's supposed to. Peachy and honey flavored. Actually, that sounds kind of good.
I mean, it sounds like a Mountain Dew type flavor.
I'm back on pop. Let's go.
But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, there's something about. I mean, pop really is just a vehicle for sugar, and that's really all it is. Like, you mean there's some caffeine in it.
Oh yeah, a lot of times there's caffeine too. So both those things are highly addictive substances too.
Whereas I found that like I don't drink a lot of energy drinks. Like, I maybe have 1 or 2 a week, maybe 3 at tops. And sometimes I'll even go a long time without energy drinks. But like, the thing I like about them is like the sugar-free ones are usually they're not made with aspartame. They're usually made with like sucralose or something, which is still not great, and I recognize that. But like, compared to aspartame and even compared to real sugar, I'd rather take sucralose in a drink like that.
Yeah.
And I'm not drinking so much of them and it's pretty much the only thing I consume with sucralose. It's not like I'm drinking so much of them that like
Same.
It's really adjusting anything inside my body with it, at least not in a major way. But yeah, like you, I can open a 16-ounce energy drink in the morning, like at work, and just kind of have it on my desk and slowly sip on it through like the morning and sometimes even into the afternoon, where like I'll finish it up at like 1, which is kind of gross when you just think about it, just sitting on your desk warm all the time. But like,
that's how I do it.
Like, sip on it all day and like I'm good. Like, it's not like something I need to keep drinking. It's not like something that like I feel a need to drink quickly or anything. It's just, yeah, it works.
I will say I drink a little more than that, and I don't know why we're on an energy drink kick, but just I will say my only problem, because I do quit them for long periods of time, and then I get like super tired one morning. I'm like, oh, sweet nectar of gods, and then I kind of like just keep doing it for a while. That said, tightening screws. Oh, right, I was taking that laptop apart. I have screws left over from a laptop I was taking apart, and I forgot I had them here, and I almost threw them all over the place.
Would have been.
In fact, I think one's now missing. Long story short is, if I do quit them, I will say I get the nastiest headache about 36 hours in, like from not having one, because I have them like daily. But once you get through that headache, I can just go forever. And like I said, it's not like during the day even the first one I don't necessarily crave. I just like, I want to pep up, and like I know that's a good way to do it.
Sure.
I would drink coffee sometimes instead, and that's fine. Like, it's not like I need the pop, but it's weird. Energy drinks are weird.
I do find that coffee and energy drinks both react a little different to me.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I can just drink coffee nonstop. When I'm hopefully one day be back in the office with everybody, but like we had a local roastery bring in coffee for us, and the company just paid for everything. So like it was just like nonstop flowing, decent coffee, and like
Was it Roasters Jacks? Because they're the best in town.
no,
All right.
they're
You don't have to say it. I don't care.
that's fine. Which actually, of all the roasters in town, Leelanau Roasters is probably my least favorite. But it's still better than just like Folgers, which is what we had before, or Maxwell.
Yeah.
That was complete trash. Um, so like it's not uncommon. I just go in and just like get it there in the morning, get a cup of coffee, and I have like this giant mug that's like probably a full like 16, 20 ounce mug, and fill it up, drink it down, and then like I also drink a crap ton of water. So like I've got a giant 30 ounce like Yeti ice water cup form, and I just drink both of them. Go back to the kitchen, get some more, and like I'll probably drink like 2 or 3 mugs of coffee in the morning. And
I'm.
it doesn't affect me the same way an energy drink does. Like
I
the energy,
agree.
like the caffeine I get from the coffee, but the energy drinks just have that little something extra where it's like I just kind of
Taurine and other weird shit.
yeah, it's different.
I agree with that.
I actually prefer coffee.
I only like coffee now that I found Roaster Jack's French Roast. It is. I've never been a coffee drinker. I've tried so many times, then I finally found that stuff, and like I can just pound that stuff. It's so good, and it gives me the jitters. So it must have a good amount of caffeine in it. I really really like it. So
I'm actually would be surprised if it, I mean, unless it's specifically made to have a lot of caffeine, because a French roast I think is normally kind of a darker roast,
mhm. It
and darker
is.
the coffee, the least caffeine it has typically. Usually the lighter roast actually have more caffeine.
It could just be that I actually can stomach it enough to drink several cups, and I don't typically have ever done that with any other coffee.
That's
Uh,
fair.
Almost every other coffee, if I take like 3 sips, I'm done. I don't care anymore. But that stuff, I can literally just cup after cup. I don't know what it is about it, but French roast is my jam. I've gone back and tried other brands French roast, and it is definitely way better than anything else I've tried. But Roaster Jacks specifically is awesome. Like it's the best French roast I've ever had.
Well, I will
Uh,
throw out there that my current favorite coffee in town, which is Traverse City, for those of you who are not aware, or this is your first time listening to us talk about things, is probably Mundo's, which at first I did not love their coffee, but the more I drank it, the more now it's just like the only thing I can really
so it's got
like
crack, and you're addicted to it now.
that. But really what they do is they are most American roasters burn the coffee because when you burn it is when you get that very specific consistent taste to it.
Mm-hmm.
And Mundo's really makes a point of never like over burning the coffee. It's roasted just enough to get it so like it's crisp. The beans are crisp and kind of cooked through, but it's not burned. And not being burned gives it a very different flavor and a different taste. And like I said, at first I was like, I don't really know if I like this, but I've had enough of it now where I'm like, this is the coffee that I like.
My least favorite coffee that I've had in town is called Higher Grounds, and it tastes like acid, and I
Ugh,
cannot stand that.
it's a roast from Higher Grounds, and some of them I do not care for. Some of them I like a lot. Higher Grounds is probably my second favorite in town.
I can't say I've tried a lot of them, but all of the flavors I have had from them to me taste just like just pure acid. They're acidic as all get out, and I cannot. Ugh, ugh.
See, I actually kind of like the acidic coffee a bit more than the bitter coffee.
I want that dark chocolatey, like that dark French roast. It's smoky and it's almost got a chocolatey taste to it, and it's like, oh yeah, like blacker than the blackest black times infinity. Hit us up if you know what that quote's from. Uh, anyway, coffee, energy drinks, COVID, whatever. Did you hear they're rumoring that Tron 3 might actually be in production again?
I have heard that rumor. I don't know if I actually believe that rumor, but I heard that rumor.
I believe it. I just don't believe it's going to stay that way.
Well, I mean, the fact that the second one ever got made means that like somewhere out there somebody is like, yeah, no, we're not going to ever do that. but maybe we will.
But maybe
Because
we
I
will.
feel like that was exactly what happened with the second one. And then someday that maybe just kind of kept going. I was like, oh, okay.
There's actually a pretty good article on Gizmodo, which I rarely say, but that outlines like the history of Tron 3 being made, which is kind of funny. And I'll link that in the chat, and it's just got some stuff in there. There's some talks about Daft Punk and stuff wanting to come back and do it all, which is, would be a must.
Hmm.
As much as obviously the original Tron for me is like a super big deal. I grew up with that movie. It was just, it's awesome in every way, shape, and form. I get it doesn't hold up. If you're watching it now or you're young, it probably looks insane. But the things they had to do to get the movie to look that way were insane. It's a technical marvel, like Star Wars kind of was a technical marvel, just like the weird stuff they did for the videography and the graphics and stuff like that. The the
Although one could make the argument that Star Wars was a technical marvel that proved the reason for its existence.
that might be true, and maybe Tron is that way too. That could be the case, because I'm not going to argue that Tron is the best movie. But I do love it. I grew up with it. It's a nostalgia thing for me. Total bomb. So when Tron 2 came out, I was like, what is this? Like, and then I'm like, oh, Daft Punk's doing the soundtrack, which of course is awesome. You can't deny Daft Punk, even if it's not your music. Like, those guys are geniuses in their own right. So I was
They
like,
are.
oh, that's kind of neat, but soundtrack doesn't necessarily make the movie. And then you got like old man Bridges there now, like in the movie, but it came together really well. Like, I love that movie. Like, it was, somebody did it right. Somebody understood the world they were getting into. The young Flynn was a bit weird, but it worked. The soundtrack does actually make the movie. Like, I wouldn't normally admit that, but the soundtrack to that, I will listen to that original soundtrack. I have it on my list of things, and I will just listen to it.
It
Super awesome.
the second one to me is one of those movies where I feel like there was this one point, like 10, I don't know when the second one actually came out anymore, like 10ish, 8ish years ago, something like that. I don't know. But
10 years ago.
there was this point that I feel like was around 2010, give or take a few years, where like there were just a handful of like really simple,
Yeah,
well,
December 2010.
quick, not quick, but just like basic, well done storyline sci-fi sort of movies that came out that didn't get a ton of fanfare, but were good, solid movies. And I feel like Tron 2 was one of them. Ironically enough, I feel like Men in Black 3 was one of them. Because when Men in Black 3 came out, it felt very, very stepped back from the giant over the topness of the first two movies. Like there was still an element of that, but it was just like a very like act one, act two, act three, wrap up the story, we're done sort of thing. And that's kind of how I felt about Tron 2. But in any case, it didn't overreach itself trying to do too much. It just kind of gave you the solid visual, the solid soundtrack, and a plot that worked to carry it all through. And it was a solid movie. That's how
I might admit, I don't know if I remember Men in Black 3. Like, I know they made one. I might have to
well,
go back and rewatch that one. I don't even know if I watched it.
a ton of money. And it wasn't like a great movie, but it was a solid movie. It was a time travel one where you had to go back in time, and
Fine.
Josh
Okay.
Brolin like played young K.
Yeah, I don't know if I watched that one. I'm gonna be honest.
Well, I
um,
was looking to, and I guess that was 2012 when that came out. But if you are looking for a simple, straightforward sci-fi movie that has a few elements of the first few, but for the most part is just like a well-contained do it movie, it's not a bad one to watch.
the one thing with Tron 3 that I was going to note is they had pegged, and so far, somebody, Disney Insider, has come out and said this is still in the deal. Like, it's still being pursued. It's in development, I guess, is what they're talking. Is Jared Leto is going to be in it. So I guess that guy's kind of everywhere. He's
Well, like he's the Joker anymore,
uh
is he?
but he is Morbius.
It's Morbius. That's true. He's now quasi in the Marvel
Right.
universe.
Yeah, the Geek and Sunder. No, was it Geek? The Nerdist had a video on the Tron 3 rumors too, and it was funny because whoever wrote the article said 30 Seconds to Mars Jared Leto, which I don't think he's been known as the 30 Seconds to Mars guy.
Oh.
And or was it 30 Seconds to Mars? Was it? Yeah, that's him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. For some reason, I was thinking of another band to listen, but no, it's 30 Seconds to Mars, which I thought was also kind of funny. Is like if you're going to introduce him out of all the things he's kind of done lately, I don't know if it was his band that would do it, but maybe the guy who wrote the article is a big 30 Seconds to Mars fan. Who knows?
Maybe.
Another sequel that I was getting kind of rumored was the Constantine.
Yes.
So this has got some traction around somewhere. I think it's awesome. The nerd community is kind of like up in arms because there's this weird divide, and I don't necessarily. I mean, I get it, but so we've talked a lot on this podcast about how you need to keep the kind of soul of the character. You can change pretty major things. Hey, buddy. You can change pretty major things, settings, aesthetics, and stuff. But if you keep the soul of the character, it's fine. So the one big complaint about Keanu, if you don't know, Keanu Reeves did the first Constantine movie. There's a good chance you don't know because I don't think it got a ton of play. I personally think it's awesome. It's got a good cult following.
It's a very great movie.
It's super fun. Like, I mean, it's not like fun, but it's dark and stuff like that. But I think it's really well done. Keanu Reeves is good in it. He plays a great version of Constantine. Yes, he's not British. Yes, it's like in LA instead of London or something. But
yeah, not blonde in any way, shape, or
he's not blonde, but you have all of the kind of like same notes, right? Like his attitude, his quirkiness, the way his attitude, the presence of the character, like it's a very faithful representation from what I know of John Constantine, just other than he's not British, blonde, and in London, which that's so when we get these huge arguments about, I made this, character female or whatever, and the nerd community is going to flip out because they hate females, and it's like that's never the case. Like if you can gender swap somebody but keep the soul of the character intact, I think everybody's happy and doesn't give a crap. But the problem is typically those people who are doing that are doing it for the wrong reasons and are not going to stay true to the character that you've loved, dumped maybe thousands of your own money into, collecting comic books and spending years following. Like, so this is one of those weird differences.
I will also just throw in there a quick 2 cents that like gender, while not the albeit thing of what makes a character, it is a part of a character.
Right.
And
it can be, for sure.
Like there are some things that some characters have trait wise that like it's a very feminine trait or a very masculine trait, and to try to portray that as suddenly swapping that and having that trait remain does not always hold true.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. That's what we're looking for.
Right. And so to do that and then to portray it as and do justice to the other gender, if you were to switch it that way, just usually doesn't work. Anyways, I probably just dug myself a nice hole. So
it's fine. I agree with you. It has nothing to do with caring what gender they are. It's keeping the soul of the character intact. And this is the thing that we mentioned quite a bit here. So one of the things that so with this movie, it kind of divides people up. There's the camp of people like me and you that like really like the original Constantine movie. I think it was one of those kind of early comic book movies before they kind of got big that was a pretty good representation of it. Like when you're thinking of things like the German 1994 Fantastic Four movie, if you've ever watched that, which I have, it is terrible.
It's pretty bad.
Or like a lot of the just generically bad superhero movies throughout the years. Not this is obviously offbeat from a superhero movie, but for as far as a comic based movie, it's pretty darn good, and it was pretty early on. I like it, but there's a whole group of people out there that are like, this isn't my John Constantine, # not my Constantine. And there's a big uprising to get Matt Ryan, who did the TV show version and ended up crossing into the CW verse as Constantine, which I've watched, and he does do a fantastic job too. I like both of them. Both versions of the character are great. But they are like, you must make him play the movie version of him, which I'm just going to come out and say I'm for that, but it's never going to fucking happen. Because it never fucking happens.
Well, no.
The same thing happened with The Flash. There was a whole lot of us who were like, let the Flash from the TV show play in the movie, because that is all, he does a great job. We like him. We like him a lot. Like he's better than that show deserves. Can we have him? And of course it didn't. And not to say the guy who did the Flash in the movies version was bad, but it didn't happen. And when you're looking at making a new movie that probably isn't going to have a gigantic fan base to begin with, it's a little obscure. It's not going to draw things like a Superman movie would, right? Or a Batman movie. And you're talking about putting Matt Ryan or Keanu Reeves in the forefront of that movie to sell tickets. Who are you going to pick? You're going to pick Keanu Reeves. And he said he would do it. So it's like, you're never, like, the math doesn't work there. I'm sorry, Matt Ryan. I think you're a great version, and I would not be upset to see you in a movie.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
But I also love Keanu's version, so I'm not going to be upset to see him back in the movie. And if you're sitting there counting the money in the giant studio who's going to fund this thing, and you want your money back, who are you going to bet on? Keanu Reeves will sell those tickets whether that movie stinks or not. You're going to at least get your money back.
Especially when Keanu is like on his like third crazy popular comeback of like his life in the middle of it, going on these John Wick stuff, and it's like
he's huge. He's got Matrix 4 coming. I mean, everything the guy does is at least good. Like
Ted 3. I mean, come on.
Yeah. I don't know about that. We'll see how that works. But I'm gonna happily watch it. I am a Keanu Reeves fan through and through. There's a stinking weird movie I watched once with him and like Sandra Bullock. Was it Sandra Bullock? Not Speed. Speed is fine. But they're writing letters back and forth to each other through time.
Yeah.
He was good in that.
He's just good. As long as you don't make that guy do a fake accent.
Oh yeah, no. It's just let Keanu be Keanu. He's kind of just what he is, but he works well. And the thing that drives it, he always works well, is just because he tries so hard. Like, he works so hard to get to where he needs to be, right? So, yeah, there are things you definitely can't put him in. He's not versatile. But the things you can put him in, he will do a very good job at. And personally, Constantine was great. I loved it. His attitude, when he's going to heaven, he's flipping off the dude. Like, oh my God, that's one of the best scenes. And yeah, I love it. So Constantine 2 or whatever they're going to call it, I'm pro, and I'm pro Keanu Reeves on this one. Sorry, Matt Ryan fan base. Get out of here.
Yeah. Of course, it still surprised me if they ended up doing it and just got somebody completely brand new that wasn't either one of them either. But
it wouldn't surprise me, but if you have Keanu sitting there saying he'd do it and you have the opportunity, you'd be stupid not to.
Fair.
I mean, obviously scheduling things don't work out, whatever. But if he's sitting there and he wants to do it, and he's publicly recently said, yeah, no, I'd totally do that character again. The question is, can you get Shia LaBeouf back in front of the fucking camera? Or do we want to?
No. We do.
He was fine in that movie. He was great as the little sidekick thing.
He was okay in that movie, but then that only led to him being the sidekick in other movies like Indiana Jones.
Oh God. Is he a sidekick? I mean, I think he's supposed to be the next Indiana Jones, and I just don't think that worked out.
Yeah, how that went.
So yeah, whatever.
A fifth one that's supposed to be coming out sometime.
Yeah, I saw the rumors on that, and
which, if we haven't said on here before, James Mangold, aka Logan, doing the fifth Indiana Jones right now.
I think we did mention that, but yes, that I'm pro that. Kind of, I guess, kind of. I think that character could go away now.
Indiana Jones.
I mean, Logan was great, and you have that talent. Put him on something new. Like don't force him to rehash this dead IP. Like, and I love Indiana Jones, man. The Last Crusade was one of the greatest movies of all time. But like, it's let it go.
I, it would not, if this movie comes out and it's a decent movie, it will not break my heart to have a final movie that is not Crystal Skull.
Yes, I agree with that.
Just say that. And
I
since the
left the movie theater disappointed on that one. Like, right, usually,
last 20 minutes was the most disappointing thing of the whole movie.
yeah, absolutely.
Like everything up until that point, there were questionable stuff, but it was like, well, if you can pull this off at the end, it'll be a good movie. And the end's the opposite.
Thanks.
That's it.
There are a few movies. Typically, I get caught up in the hype. Hey, Slottling, thanks for stopping by. There are a few movies that I walk out of that I'm not at least hack the planet. Thank you so much for that, host. I appreciate that. There are a few movies that I walk out of that I'm not at least into the hype. Where for like the first like 5 minutes, I'm like, yeah, that was fun, and then quickly reality sets in sometimes, and I'm like, all right, yeah, that movie was actually pure garbage. But Crystal Skulls was definitely one that I walked out disappointed. Like there was no hype at the end. I was just like, what did I just watch? Why does this exist?
It was, yeah, it was sad. Well, and the thing I do think is the fact that they are still pushing Harrison Ford for this fifth one as being Indiana means that they can't be doing this with like the Star Wars look of rebooting and not rebooting, but like extending well beyond. I think that.
Sorry for those who obviously if you're watching this or listening to this or watching it later, just in case you're wondering what's happening with Rebecca 100,000, my son is on my wife's account and he's chatting with us. So hello, Ethan. Glad you're with us. Cheers. I think are we allowed to say that to 8-year-olds?
Hey,
and we love you, buddy. You're great.
Yeah.
So yeah, whatever. We'll find out. What else was I reading? Oh, yeah. It sounds like that's pretty. It looks like they're probably going to reboot Scarlett or Johansson's character, the Widow, which would actually make sense with the what's her Ruby Rose. I don't know how to say her last name, but the girl who played her sister or will be playing her sister in the new movie. So, Hellplug, welcome. Don't know what that means. Sorry. But it looks like they're going to possibly, which it would actually be canon to some extent because her sister was Black Widow for some short time in the comic books. So I don't know if there's really much to say about that, but it does look like she will be possibly taking up the role. It sounds like that may be happening. So I'm probably okay with that. I haven't seen the new Widow movie, obviously, but I think that might be okay from what I've seen in the previews. So,
yeah, I mean, I have a feeling that a lot of these characters will probably end up with. It's going to be very uncomic book like, but I feel like a lot of these characters are probably going to end up with replacement characters playing the roles of those heroes. Like, it really would not surprise me if Iron Man like gets played by somebody else. Like, and Iron Man, aka Tony Stark, will still be dead in the universe, I'm sure.
Right.
Like, especially with like about 4 or 5 years ago, whenever it was, like them developing the character Iron Heart or whatever it is, which is like some female person who is kind of like a protege of Tony Stark, kind of like beginning her own journey as a Iron Man-esque superhero. So it wouldn't surprise me if that happened at some point. I don't think they're going to push it right away just because they've got tons of other properties they haven't even touched on yet.
Yeah, it only makes sense for them to let that stuff bake for a while. So they just dropped this huge bomb at the end of Avengers with Tony Stark and all this stuff. And it's like, yeah, eventually, do you want Iron Man in some form back on the screen? Yeah, probably. I mean, fans really like that character and the idea of the character, and it was done very well. But when you're going to leave somebody as iconic as the Tony Stark we got. Like, it's really hard to just throw somebody else up there and say, hey, try to be better than Junior here.
Yeah.
Good luck. So yeah, they let it bake for a while, and then they come up with like a new version, which, you know, is not unprecedented for comic books. We get all sorts of weird versions of the main characters. Like,
Sure.
it'd be fine.
That being said, there is still this little part inside of me that just wanted it to be like very James Bond-esque, where like, oh well, this person isn't going to play the superhero anymore, so it'll be played by this other actor for all future movies. Because there is that part of me where, as good as the Marvel universe has been, and I realize why it's been the way it's been, and it's been great for movie stuff, but I still want it to be more comic book like, where it just keeps going forever and ever and ever, which is evidently not how it's going to go. But there's plenty, and I do mean plenty, of material for them to keep going this way for a very, very long time.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's hard to say. The problem with the movies is actors age. So in the comic books, we can just, yep, Tony Stark still exists. Yes, he's existed for 40 years or whatever. He's been around 50 years now. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But he just exists, and it's all modern day, and it's fine. But eventually, you do have to have actors, and unfortunately, the different. So obviously, in the comic books, the Tony Stark, like if you look at a picture of him, you can tell who it is pretty readily. But it's still got that like kind of generic feature to it, where like in the movies, you're obviously getting a full-fledged human being. There's all sorts of character to it. They put a lot into the characters, so you're kind of getting involved with, you know, somebody a little more than that. But yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of happy to see Iron Man just go away for a while, and if they want to bring Iron Man back in some way later, I think I'd be okay with that. Just give it a while, because Junior is just too good at the role, even though he's kind of a nut job. he's a good actor, and he crushes that role pretty hard. So
He really does.
What else? What else have we been doing? I got some board game stuff. I got they're rebooting Beavis and Butthead. Did you ever watch Beavis and Butthead when you were young?
When I was young, no, because you know that I grew up in a house that not only didn't have cable, but my mom would have just like, I don't know, probably just burned the whole house down if it got played on TV there. So
we did get cable late just because we lived in a small town, and it wasn't like one of the first places. But we weren't necessarily allowed to watch it either, but I did. So not a lot of it, but I did watch a good chunk of it, and it's interesting. It's being rebooted today. They did do a reboot already once, but it was like one season on MTV. It was actually pretty good from what I watched of it. If you like Beavis and Butthead type stupid humor. And then, but now this one's being picked up by Comedy Central, which is probably a good thing.
Maybe, yeah.
Because they're not afraid to, like, they've been letting South Park do whatever the hell they want for 20 some years. So at least there's some idea that they could let Mike Judge or whatever the dude's name is kind of do what he needs to do. Thank you, Ethan. Yes. Sub, like, and subscribe. Smash that button. And then throw your Amazon Prime at me. Do it. Supports the channel. Buys lights and microphones and stuff. But yeah, I don't know how to take Beavis and Butthead in 2020. Like, I just feel there's just the only reason South Park gets away with things is just because it has existed for so long, and it started back when people didn't care. But to start Beavis and Butthead back up, and if it's going to be rude and crude and triggering, I'm curious to see how it goes. I hope it does well.
And I don't see comedy. I was going to call it Comedy Central. That's not what it's called anymore. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, I think so.
Anyway, for some reason, I don't see them being as open as, say, like Adult Swim might have been.
Maybe. And well, that's, I guess, the saving grace here is you have Rick and Morty. So Rick and Morty is obscene in every way, and it's really popular. So I guess if I'm gonna
It's
argue against myself against the South Park hypothesis, we do have a newer show that is obscene to kind of also say that you can still have obscene shows.
true,
True, true.
true, true, true. Speaking of obscene and things that age, um, I have been very slowly, and by very slowly, I mean I haven't listened to one in probably like a year, but I just started listening to the next book in the Tom Clancy Jack Ryan series. Because to go backwards even more, I finally finished fourth book of The Expanse, so I'm now both caught up on the TV show and up to that point with the books as well. But since then, I've started listening to the Tom Clancy. I think it's like the sixth book, maybe The Debt of Honor, something like that. And it takes place at like the early '90s, and they're like the '80s ones seemed very '80s esque. Like it's all USSR versus the USA, and everything's like blah blah blah. The '90s Tom Clancy books are weird because they feel like we're starting to get into the modern era, but there's still so many things that are just so like obscene is not the word because they're not obscene, but they're just like stereotypes, I guess might be the better word for
Sure.
it, that are just like all over the place. Like Tom Clancy was pretty much like a man is a man and a man's man is a man's man. And US people are not perfect, but they're the best. And other cultures, like this book, features a lot of things like interactions with like Japan and like some of the way that he just treats Japanese stereotypes. I'm just like, I don't
Oof, hard oof.
I don't know if this is something that would come out today.
Yeah, no doubt on that. Tom Clancy books are interesting.
And like there's obviously like there's a lot of good stuff in them because they keep milking those books. Like
Right.
I mean you have the new Jack Ryan TV show on Amazon, which is really good and is not based directly on any of the books, but it's just kind
Right.
of based on character. And not only that character, but like a very early iteration of that character. Um
I really enjoy it, and we might have talked about that a little bit, but before. But I really enjoyed the Amazon series, Jack Ryan. I thought, speaking of just weird, laughable ways to look at the world, I thought the way they portrayed Venezuela in the second series was a bit odd, and additionally, they were kind of stereotyping the Middle East in the first one, so like they still do some of that, which is fine. I thought both it was good. It was a good show. So
but I think most paramilitary shows or movies kind of do that
yeah,
anyway. Like they're those sort of Hollywood entries that like kind of tongue in cheek know that they're kind of almost propaganda in some way,
right.
but they're just good with it because people
Well,
buy.
you don't sell tickets making people feel bad about killing civilians in the Middle East.
That's fair.
Like, so I mean they actually do play a little bit of that role in there about bombing like weddings and stuff. So I mean they did hit it, I guess. I'll give them credit for that, but
Yeah,
yeah, it's definitely the military stuff can be kind of a cartoonish look of the world. I mean, Americans have sometimes a cartoonish look of the world, so it is just what it is. So you're reading the newest book, is it, or listening to it or whatever?
it's like I said, it's from like the '90s. So
Oh,
like
this one's old.
yes, this
All
one
right.
is old.
Well,
I
Tom
started
Clancy's been dead for some odd
yeah, he's
years,
been
right?
for a little while.
Okay.
Or if he isn't dead, he's old enough he doesn't write anything himself. But I think he's been.
I'm pretty sure he passed away.
I think there was only like 11 or 12 actual Jack Ryan books that he wrote.
Maybe I just wanted him to pass away. No, I don't really want him to. I'm just joking. He died in 13.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, like so the one I'm reading is Debt of Honor, which is 1994,
Wayback Machine.
way back. And I think yeah, so one, two, three, four, five. So it's the sixth book. And then the next book is when he becomes the president, which tells you how quickly things go in the books when you go by book order.
What is this? I just
What?
clicked on Patriot Games book, and the cover is Jack Ryan from the Amazon series. It has an ad on the cover that says, "This is now on Amazon." But the character on the front cover of the book is the one from the show, which is kind of fun.
Because the mass-produced paperbacks always do that.
Yeah, that's just like, what?
The most recent, yeah.
I mean, you had Harrison Ford, for God's sakes. Put him on the cover.
Some copies of it that definitely.
I'm sure there probably is a copy with him on the cover. Oh, they did it with all of them. Here's the one for Hunt Red October. It's got it. That's funny. Get out of here. Get out of here, publishers. You guys are nutty. I don't think I'm still reading the Cyberpunk book I found for $1. It's not great. Have you been watching any animes or any other shows?
I watched the first hour of Ruby.
Yeah. Do it. Do it.
I watched the first hour of it. And it's okay.
Okay. Please stick with it.
I'm going to stick with it.
I will 100% agree.
Season, so
the first season is rough. The animation is rough. It gets a little distracting, but once you get into the good action scenes, it's still good, and the soundtrack's good. So let that be your guide. And then once you get to season 2, the animation starts to smoothen out, and it's less of a distraction. The show kind of gets its legs under it, and like it becomes a more cohesive thing. I like it. Sorry.
I mean, it's got, so far, I mean, it's not bad. Especially considering it is basically, I was going to say fan-made, but it's not fan-made because it's just self-made.
It's a self-made thing. The dude just kind of made it up. There's like some fun things, like the guy that was making it, like the map of the world. If you ever get to a scene where they're showing the map of the world, it's kind of sporadic, like he basically squirted ketchup on a napkin, squeezed it together, and pulled it out like an ink blot. And he's like, "This is the map of my world now."
All right.
So the guy who died in like season 2 or 3, basically created the world and started the project for Rooster Teeth. Like, was kind of eccentric, but he did cool things, and the show highlights most of the cool things. It's pretty well done too, for like dudes in a basement essentially.
I agree with that. Other than that, I've been mostly not watching much of anything, but I think, as I said, I finished, maybe I said last 2 weeks ago, maybe it's been that long and I just don't know what I watch anymore, but did finally finish season 4 of The Expanse. And now I just hope that, the next season doesn't take another year and a half to come out, which it probably will. And I'm still slowly making my way through Hunter x Hunter.
I've never watched that. I don't know anybody else who has, other than you, I guess, at this point.
Well, Steven, but
I know it's popular, but I've never had anybody go up to me and be like, "Oh, you watch anime? Why don't you watch this?"
It's okay. It's entertaining.
Which typically, with my limited time to like put toward watching a whole series, I typically take recommendations over trying to find my own stuff, just because, I mean, obviously I see the super popular stuff that's out there just because it's online or whatever. But I tend to wait for somebody to be like, "No, you got to watch this." And then I'm going to go watch it and be happy I did, because I don't have time to sit there and waste like watching other stuff. I will say this, though. I took a stab. I watched the trailer. Netflix released a one called RNG, or it's RNG or RNA, BNA. Found it. It's called BNA, like DNA, but BNA for beast, I think.
Okay.
So the idea. Have you ever watched? What's the Zootopia cartoon?
I'm with you.
So think of it like that, in the art style of like Foley Coley. If you ever watch FLCL, which is one of my favorite things in the world, and it's got kind of that art feel, but it's a little more refined, a little cleaner, but it's got a lot of that art feel to it. and basically think of it as like a dark version of Zootopia where all the beasts are half man. They can like they're beast man, but they can be human esque, and they kind of turn back into their beast forms when they get mad or want to Hulk out or whatever. And like essentially, the entire world's gone bonkers because Beastmen are a thing, and they're persecuted by the humans. So they went off and started their own city. Think of like Zootopia. It's just a giant with districts and things like that of different animal types, and they kind of click together. And there's crime, there's cops, there's a mayor, but they're all
away from the humans.
yeah. Well, they try to be. They try to, but the humans still hate them for some reason, and because we got to paint humans as the evil thing every chance we get.
Well, for mind.
And the show is done well. I thought it was going to be stupid as hell, but I just turned it on because I kind of like the art style, and ended up pounding out all 10 or 12 episodes or whatever it was over the weekend, and it was quite good. I actually highly recommend it. So it's a short watch. It's not anything, not too crazy investments like you're getting Bleach, and we're 800 episodes in. It's like 10 episodes, and they're pretty good. So it surrounds a girl who was human that got turned into a beast man, which isn't a thing that's ever happened. Like you're either a beast man or you're not. And she ends up having like weird powers where she can like morph parts of her body into other beasts. So for the most part, she's like this raccoon bear thing. I forget what they call them. And she doesn't know. She thinks she's a raccoon for a while. And then somebody's like, no, you idiot. You're this thing. But then all of a sudden she wants to run fast and she has cheetah legs, or she wants to fly and her arms turn into like bird arms and like kind of crazy stuff. And
wings.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Except for bird arms. Shout out to Killer Moose, who has this obsession with pictures where people have photoshopped human arms on birds. So I have seen lots, more than I will ever care to, birds with photoshopped human arms on them. So birds with man arms.
Birdman.
Yep. So if you're looking for another anime, Ruby was a big thing for me, but now I've checked out the B&A on Netflix, and I actually quite enjoyed it. So it's simple, it's different, it's under the radar. At least I'd never heard of it before Netflix came out with it. So
very nice, very nice. Sad. Well, I don't know if it's sad or not. I'm going to say it's sad just to preface it in case people don't find it as amazing as what I do. But I feel like the thing I've watched the most in the last 2 weeks is I've discovered that there are tons, and by tons I mean like 3 or 4 different YouTube channels that go around to the pro events and actually record and then have commentary on disc golf pro events. And I've just been watching the crap out of those. And I don't have any good reason for it other than it's truly something I can just sit down and have a very casual enjoyment of and just shut my mind off and not care.
I think if you need mindless YouTube videos that you can just sink a billion hours into, you need to go find the lockpicking lawyer. The lockpicking lawyer is this guy who is literally nutty good at picking locks, and he has probably thousands and thousands of videos. None of them are more than like 10 minutes long. Some of them are 2 minutes long because he just cracks the lock and walks away, pretty much. So, and I get in this weird thing where I will sit there and turn one on and it just auto plays. It'll be like 3 hours later, and I've watched like 50 of these episodes. These like videos of him just like, well, he goes through all sorts of things like how the lock is made, what the different pins do. He disassembles a lot of the locks and shows you the whole core and what tools he uses to pick them, and he describes the picking as he feels it, and like he's got this kind of weird soothing monotone voice that he just kind of it just becomes one big long series of lock picks, and it's way more entertaining than it should be, and it's quite good. I don't know if I could sit there and watch 10 hours of disc golf commentary though. That's pretty impressive.
It's not as bad as it sounds. Break everything into 9-hole videos basically, which are like 20 minutes. So it's not that big of a deal. And it's not like they do a really good job of editing it, and they've usually got like 4 or 5 cameras like following one group,
Sure.
and so like they have it edited really good, so you're not like watching
Condensed down.
time or anything. You're basically watching them tee off, and then suddenly you're at the next shot that the farthest out guy makes. And you get a little bit of commentary. And if it's a really good shot, they do all the typical sports stuff where like they'll replay it from like a different angle and have like a follow through. It's like shows the tail behind it all the way. It's
That's
really, and the commentators don't take themselves too super seriously, which is a little entertaining as well, because they're almost all of them. The commentators are actually guys who play on the pro tour with them, so sometimes they'll actually be in the groups that they're commenting on,
sure.
the commentary after the fact. And even if they're not, they know everybody, so they'll just be like, half the time they just BS about this person doing this or that or whatever, and it's fun.
I guess that does sound better than I was imagining in my head at first. um, the other thing I've been watching on YouTube a lot, and it's a huge time sink that I need to stop, is Magic: The Gathering deck builds. I'm like, oh, that deck sounds interesting. I'll watch like one match, and then like 5 go by, 10, 20.
Yep. But the only thing I really do magic wise on YouTube is if I'm going to be doing, any drafting, I'll usually look at a couple draft like strategy videos, and that's usually about it.
Gotta get that bread. Isn't that like the main strategy? They talk about bread, where it's like bombs, removal, evasion, something else, and then drops or dung or whatever the last one's for garbage.
Yeah, pretty much.
Um,
Only a different game when you're playing a draft versus when you're just constructing a deck.
100%. Like I've done 4 or 5 premier drafts at this point, just screwing around with them. And it's funny, like I had this green white deck one time that was just like stellar. Like I'm like, I couldn't have made this deck better if I wasn't constructed. And I got wiped out instantly. Like just destroyed. And I was like, dude, I love like, and it seemed to run well. It's just the people I was running against, there was like pre-constructed like super decks that just comboed instantly and just would kill me like out of this world. Hello, my buddy.
Hi.
Good night, bud. Go sleep.
Sub to his channel.
Hit that like button. Smash that sub. Thank you, Ethan. He's my hype man now. I'm gonna bring him in and start doing videos of him telling people to sub. We'll get all the subs in the world now.
Advertisements at the beginning and end of all of our YouTube videos.
It's probably actually a good idea. He'd love it. But yeah, the drafts are crazy, and so like I have this deck, and I like everything synergizes. It looks great. Like it's kind of cheap too, so I didn't go too crazy, and it just gets wrecked. And then I've had a couple mediocre decks that did okay, but not great. And then this last one I did was a red green deck, and I thought it was garbage. And I won like 5 matches before I started losing. And I lost one. I was like, all right, I'm going to put it down. I'll come back and play it again later. And then I made the mistake of getting really irritated at the ladder matches at the like 5th Yugen loss I had in a row. If you don't know Magic, Yugen is a Planeswalker, which is broken as fuck right now as far as I'm concerned. But so I got mad. I was like, I'm going to do something else. And I went in mad and tried to finish off the rest of my games, and I just lost. But it was just me being stupid. It wasn't the deck's fault. So it's just funny. Like I had this trash red green jack that really didn't look like it did anything, but it just worked. And like when I wasn't playing it stupidly, I was kicking everybody's butt. Of course, both those colors are super strong right now, I think. But
green is going to get a lot. Yeah, green is going to get a lot worse here. I don't know why I had that accent, but
I think when things drop off, it's going to be rough for them. But right now, with all of the available options you have, it's actually kind of broken. I play so many green decks that are like 5th turn are just pummeling you in the face right now, like just so hard, and there's not much you can do. So I don't know if that'll get better or worse, but it's pretty rough. Like I play really fast. One of the decks I play quite a bit is I have multiple versions of it, but the one that tends to like wreck people pretty hard in standard ladder matches is a really fast white black aggro deck, and like I can barely get stuff out in front of a green deck right now before, and then I still end up if it's like mono green, I pretty much end up losing still because it's just like. But if it goes to turn 6, I'm just getting hit with such huge trample. It's like I don't have time to get out in front of it.
Good.
Yeah, it's pretty rough right now, and I don't know if that's a thing that'll change or not, but it feels kind of broken. Like I get like to me the traditional idea of green is yes, you will need a lot of mana, but it's kind of a mid to late game. I'm just going to have these huge creatures that you are not going to be able to contend with if I can last that long. But now it feels like it's so fast that it doesn't have to wait that long. It's just boom, they're out and they're crushing your face. So M21 is broken too because you have that new I'm gonna forget Garak, whatever. It's hexproof to black for creature or whatever, and that thing is just because I play a lot of black. So that card is the bane of my existence right now.
Good thing you still exile it with a white card.
Yeah, if I'm playing one of my versions that does, I do have a couple versions of my deck that has a ton of white exile, but a lot of my stuff that's been winning a lot lately does not. It's relying a lot on black cards with some white support, and it is that card makes my life a living hell.
Sounds like somebody needs to start playing traditional with a sideboard.
I know we've talked about it. I built sideboards for the first time the last couple since the last one. I have a couple decks that I think have some pretty solid. It's such a time commitment. Like if I want, let's say, I get out of work and because I work here, and before I run upstairs, I want to get a match or two in. I can squeeze in a couple. If I get into a traditional ranked ladder and I have to do 3, I mean that could take a half hour or more. You know, like
yeah.
Heck, some games I play are a half hour, and there's just one. So I mean, it's if you get into 3 of those where it's like 2 life decks, and you guys are just sitting there looking at each other healing, it gets pretty nutty. So, what else? What else we got here, Ryan? Have you seen the Star Wars Bad Batch stuff?
I've seen that it is in the pipeline.
Yeah, it looks like Disney Plus is doing a new animated Star Wars series called The Bad Batch.
Yes, but I never really watched any of the Clone Wars stuff, so it doesn't really mean much to me.
I don't know if it's going to be, is it directly off of...
I believe so. Isn't the Bad Batch?
It was part of the Clone Wars. I watched all the Clone Wars, and I guess I don't remember that part. I do remember the Mandalorians, so... I guess I'd have to go back. I watched all the Clone Wars stuff. It was fine. I would say Rebels is better. I do like Rebels quite a bit, actually. And then there's the newer series, which I only got like 2 episodes in. Jupiter is supposed to be at its brightest tonight. All right, well, we'll go out and check it out after the podcast, if it's out there.
Is it Ascending?
That's a weird movie.
One day I should.
You never watched it?
No.
It might be worth a watch. It's weird. I'll give it that.
It's the Wachorziaks, whatever, the Matrix people.
Right.
Which pretty much everything after the Matrix, and even the Matrix itself, other than the first one, we're all just kind of weird.
Yeah.
But they'll always be the guys who made Speed Racer.
Which was awesome.
I
did like that movie. I feel they get a little... I feel they lost their charm when they started doing too much CG. Like part of the thing that makes the first Matrix so good is there's a lot of practical effects still in it.
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of what gives it its charm. It gives weight to the show. Once you get to Matrix 2 and 3, everything's CG, and it just kind of loses that charm. So... But yeah, this looks all right. I'll probably watch this. I can't remember what that other Star Wars animated show was. I was watching it. I watched like 2 or 3 episodes, and
They're like a resistance one or something.
Maybe it was after Rebels, and it just never caught my attention.
I think that was resistance, and I think they only had 1 or 2 seasons. But
Was not super into that, I guess. Other TV show news. What do we got here? Oh, do you watch Gotham? I never really watched Gotham.
I watched most of season 1, and then I decided I did not care, so I stopped.
Yeah. It sounds like they are doing a spin-off for HBO Max. It'll be a Batman TV series based off the Gotham universe.
Why?
Batman sells.
Yeah, but why base it off of that TV show that wasn't very good?
I actually know a lot of people that are very, very into the Gotham show.
Well, where are they? I will fight them.
I will fight you right now. Yeah, set in the Gotham City Police Department, coming to HBO Max. I don't know. I don't know if it is called Batman or whatever, but it's from Matt Reeves, who's doing the Batman. He's helping develop this TV show, so
It's going to be based closer to probably his version of Batman rather than Gotham. Does it actually say it's based on the Gotham TV show?
Somewhere I thought I read that, but maybe
I'm
not.
I'm
Oh, maybe I did read this wrong. I'll back up because I'm reading the second article and it is saying more like what you're saying, that is the Batman TV spinoff Gotham PD. So yes, I guess this is more based on not the Gotham series. The other article was worded differently, and I guess I just took that as they were going to spin that off, but now this makes more sense, I guess. So it looks like they're spinning off from the new Batman movie, The Batman, and creating a Gotham PD. I don't know what the name of the show is. That doesn't look like they say that.
That could be interesting, or it could be horrible. I feel like
It just sounds like a cop show. Another cop show is just in a fictional city.
like if Batman isn't in it, is kind of not much of a point for it. It's kind of my thought.
Yeah. That's how I feel. But
I mean, that's how what I felt about Gotham.
Yep.
Which is why I didn't care about it. And then it got more and more ridiculous as time went on.
agree with that. It looks like they launched a trailer for The Boys Season 2, which is another one of those things I still haven't watched and I really want to. So
I still haven't watched it, and part of me wants to, but part of me also feels like I probably won't.
Yeah, we had a long conversation about Powers every time this comes up because I feel it's got kind of the same vibes and like it shares some of the same vibes. I won't say they're the same in any way, shape, or form, but I did like the Powers PlayStation Network show, which was redunculous and should never have existed, but it did, and I kind of like it. What else do we got? Lord of the Rings apparently is becoming a cinematic universe.
I mean, if you're gonna dump that much money into a TV show, why not, right?
Right. I mean, I'm excited to see what Amazon does with it. They're going to town on it, and I kind of like the idea. So obviously, Lord of the Rings, the movies are S tier, God tier, like so good it's stupid. Then we talked about this last time. The Hobbit is kind of whatever. It is what it is. Of all the stuff that I've seen since The Lord of the Rings came out and could be a viable IP for big movie stuff, honestly, the best thing I've ever seen is Shadow of Mordor. I don't know if you ever played that video game, but it introduced a whole new character. It's kind of in a different part of the timeline. You play this ranger / ghost. It's kind of like an Assassin's Creed style game. You run around and like there's all these orcs that you can either befriend or you can threaten, and there's like this whole orc mini game inside there where you are infiltrating the armies by either, like I said, friending or turning each other, and you can get some of the generals to fight other generals. to make sure that you keep their armies out of certain parts of the map. And it's like kind of crazy. That's one of the best things I've seen that come out of Lord of the Rings IP. So I guess where I'm getting to with that is I'm excited to see them do something that's not directly related to the books.
Well, it is related to the books, but yeah, it's definitely a section that is very wide open. That being the
Right.
second, and the island of Newmore or
Right.
whatever.
Yeah, there's structure around it, but like they kind of have a wide berth to be able to do what they want without being locked to the pages of one of the greatest novel series of all time. It's sold like more books than the Bible or pretty damn close to it. I don't know what that old which wives' tale is, but Lord of the Rings has sold a hell of a lot of books and over the years.
I'm kind of, it's kind of crazy that like that Amazon is making, well, I suppose if you include The Expanse 3, but like are making 2 specifically fantasy giant classic novel series book or TV shows essentially, because they are also making The Wheel of Time is in production. It will actually be coming out before the Lord of the Rings movie does. And that to me is also great. Like that's a giant ass, like 13 book, huge novel saga that beloved by many. I've read the beginning parts of it a handful of times, and it's okay.
The one thing that's nice about the Netflix era, and Netflix has proved this over and over, is it's not like the old era where HBO only has so much time to show things during the day. So there's actually some precedence to say we can have 2 gigantic competing shows on at the same time because they're going to have an audience because they can watch it whenever they want to watch it.
Yeah.
And people don't have the same weird restrictions, which I think is amazing because I agree that it is a lot to take on, but there's millions and millions and millions of people who will watch both or one or the other, and they will get their. And the thing about Netflix and Amazon, those streaming services, is they don't care what you're watching as long as you are watching. It's just keep you tuned in and paying that monthly subscription fee. So it's like, yeah, if they have 2 great shows and you're gonna watch both of them, like good. They just need eyes on the service, and they need that. They need everybody. So having a lot of weird, diverse stuff, or having several big shows, and that's why Amazon greenlight or Netflix greenlights some pretty weird stuff sometimes because they're like, there is an audience for this somewhere, and this will cost us like $10 million. Like, we'll just chuck it over here in the corner, and those people will come in and pay us $15 a month to watch it, and that's fine. That's fine because if we get several million people to come in because of the show for a while, we made our money back, and so it's kind of a nice place to be because it frees up people to do actual fun things. And what's nice is you stay out of their way because you don't want the overhead of dictating what they make, and you honestly don't care because you just need the content.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's awesome. So we're kind of in a weird second golden age of, cable kind of gave us that there for a while, where some of the weird like AMC's and stuff of the world got some weird budgets, and we're like, hey, let's make something crazy. And now we're getting that from the streaming services where they're just like, numbers and critic value doesn't necessarily matter anymore. We just need the content. So we'll give you the money if you have a decent idea and go make it, which I think is going to produce awesome stuff.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was that?
And then if it does do really well, we'll just keep making it.
Yeah. And if it doesn't, and it doesn't seem to be adding value, then we'll move on.
This will be in our vault forever. And
and somebody will like it somewhere, and they'll continue to watch. So I'm excited for that, though. I would like to see more Lord of the Rings stuff. Fantasy isn't big right now. Like, I feel I grew up in the era where we had tons of sci-fi in the 80s. Don't get me wrong. We were all about sci-fi. But we also had like Willow. And we had like awesome stuff. I'm trying to think of that. What was that movie with the hawk lady or something? Lady Hawk? Like we had all sorts of just crazy, weird fantasy movies in the 80s too, because fantasy movies are cheaper to make. And I don't feel like fantasy gets any love anymore. I can't think of the last crazy good fantasy show that I watched.
Witcher.
What's that?
The Witcher.
Yeah, The Witcher's good.
But I mean, that's really it. Fantasy shows really don't happen unless it's like animated.
I guess we did have Lord of the or Game of Thrones there for a while. But like, when was the last big movie that came out that was like fantasy based?
The Hobbit, probably.
Probably. It's the last one I can think of. Anyway, we don't do enough fantasy stuff anymore. I need dragons. I need swords, witches, and wizards. All that kind of stuff. Willow is fantastic. Go watch Willow. Something just popped up on my screen, said Stardust. That's also a fantastic movie and book.
Was a great movie, and it is an even better book. Absolutely, 100%.
Board game stuff. You got any board game stuff? I got some board game stuff.
I love Gloomhaven. We should start streaming Jaws of the Lion.
I'm 100% on
All
board.
other board games, and would happily play all the other board games too.
Yeah, so I picked up Jaws of the Lion, and Ryan came over, and we played last weekend. I happened to have a little kid free time, so we, middle of the day, just set it up, and no stream, didn't want to deal with any of that stuff, just spent like, I don't know, 4 hours playing the game, and we got through three scenarios. I think we did at least 3. And yeah, we did 3. And I will say it's awesome. Jaws of the Lion is really good. So if you've been on here before, or you're anybody out there that's into board games and you've heard about Gloomhaven, you haven't played it yet, I would highly recommend, if you can get a copy of Jaws of the Lion, to start there. It does a lot for you to help get you started. The characters that they put in it are fun, and it's just well done. And it's also, I thought it really rode the line well, and I don't know what your thoughts are with this, but I think it rides the line really well between coddling the noobs, but still being enough Gloomhaven that even people like us who've played Gloomhaven are still like, yeah, this is Gloomhaven, it's fun, let's go.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. Like, if I wish, there's a little part of me that wishes they had a version of those first 3 that are a little more streamlined, but I understand practically why they don't and why it is the way that it is. And like you said, even for those of like you and I who have played plenty of Gloomhaven, it's not like it was a pain to play through those first few scenarios. And it does, they were set up in a way like the first scenario, if it's somebody who's never ever even touched or had the idea of what Gloomhaven is, there's a lot to learn in the first scenario.
Yep.
But it doesn't, it sticks to there's a lot of things, but they're all simple things the way it's set up. The second scenario, you get a few more things. Third scenario, you get a few more things. And then we're now to the point where we're going into the fourth one, which is the first time that we really have all of our cards.
And the normal cards, and
is basically playing like a full-on normal game of Gloomhaven at that point. At least I assume so. We haven't played it yet, but I know that we got all our cards, so I'm assuming that's
yeah. Yeah, by the end of the third one, we now have the monster decks are out. We're flipping, because when you start, like, they give you one monster that just does one thing every time at 99 initiative or 50 initiative.
50, yep.
And by the time you're done with the third one, you now have multiple types of monsters. They have their own decks. You have, and then like you said, we opened up our own decks, and now we have our, things are now looking like normal Gloomhaven. I do enjoy the book with the maps on it. I almost kind of wish that existed for normal. I know it would be a big book because there's lots and lots and lots of scenarios, but I kind of almost wish that existed for the regular game, because getting all the board pieces together is kind of a pain in the butt.
There are a lot of people who have been pushing the designer of the game to release a like side booklets version of all of the original Gloomhaven and all of the Frosthaven
maps.
and he's toyed with the idea of it, but he really does not like the idea of doing the book for those, because a big part of those giant big box games is um, the largeness factor, if you will, and being able to design maps that are way larger than even two booklets together can make work easily.
But with that said, I don't know if I've ever played one. I guess
There's quite a few we've played that, like, there are some that would probably fit on to like one or like into like as big as the biggest ones in Jaws of the Lion will be, but there are some that we've played that
I guess that one we had to play twice with the 5 rooms or 4 rooms, whatever. That one was a pretty big map. That probably would have a hard time.
big. There are some of the ones that are like kind of like mazes or like we're climbing a cliff or whatever, or going through a tunnel where they just kind of like
They're
curve.
really long.
They're really long, and those wouldn't really fit in the book very well. So I mean, there's give and take on it.
Sure.
Like, it does make the setup a way bit simpler. And then if we actually had an app that worked for the cards for the bad guys, so we didn't have to have those decks out, it would, with the book, it would make things way simpler.
Or we just play it on Tabletop Simulator, which is what we've been doing a lot of. So that's our kind of reminder that if you are interested in Gloomhaven and ever want to check it out, we actually have it running. We're at like 18, 19 sessions in now. If you want to check any of those out there on the YouTube channel in the banner below, you can go click on that and find the playlist called Gloomhaven, and you can watch like 60 hours of Gloomhaven if you want. I mean, good luck getting through all that, but
you should, because it's amazing.
You should. It is fun. If someday things are going well, it would be interesting to hire somebody on like Fiverr to go through all those and like condense each episode into like 20-minute highlight version of it. So it's like, here's what we did, like, and get like the good fun parts and just cut out all the dead air and cut out all the just like lulls and arguing and yelling at Steven to get off magic, and that would be interesting. But for now, we just put them up raw. We do that every night here on Twitch from 9 to whenever we get done on Thursdays. Once in a while, we'll have some bonus sessions, like on the weekends if we're bored, everybody's around.
We've done that.
Yeah, well, I know that one weekend I got burned out. We did 3 nights in a row, and I was like,
"That's enough."
Yeah, I love this game, but this is too much. Like 9 hours of Gloomhaven in 3 days.
There's no such thing as too much.
But you know, we regardless, at least on Thursdays, we're here starting at 9, and you can watch us play Gloomhaven. The Tabletop Simulator version has started to introduce the other parts of the other games, so we will possibly be introducing some of the characters from the other games, Frosthaven and Jaws of the Lion. I know one thing from Jaws of the Lion that I really, really enjoyed, and I wasn't necessarily expecting it. I know I've told you this a couple times now, is the Void Warden was super fun to play. So if there's a way to get that into our game at some point, I think that would be super fun to do. I would probably actually start looking forward to retiring and try to switch modes and play the Void Warden. Character's very different, and it's very fun. It's very supporting, and you spend most of your time moving other people's characters and using them to beat people up, and then in between that you just throw heals. So it's kind of a neat take on like a healer class, support class. Did you see they launched is this a trailer for Pandemic Season 0?
No.
So there is
What about Season 3?
I don't know about that, but it looks like they are coming up with a sequel. Every end has a beginning. Pandemic Legacy Season 0. So there you go. Matt Laycock's classic board game, the latest installment of the Legacy version, is a prequel, not 3.
So when are we gonna play? When are we gonna get it? Should we just assume that Mindy's never going to play another Pandemic Legacy with us.
I don't know. I don't know if I would assume that. I think she had a lot of fun with the last one. Here's the problem, though. We have limited time, and we already still haven't started Clank Legacy, and we just cracked open Jaws of the Lion. So if we're going to start doing these games, we need to start doing them, because I'm definitely not investing into Pandemic Legacy again until we've done at least both of those. We did Pandemic Season 1, which was super fun. I wish we would have the board game streaming for those, because I think we had a really good time with that. And
that was good.
It was about, I think we did it in 20. It wasn't.
We did
no, it had to have been faster than that.
Year, and we were playing through it about once a month, and it was pretty much like almost real time playing through a year.
Right. And I think we only redid a couple months, right? Like there wasn't too many months that we had to.
Team sessions.
Yeah. So it was less than 20 for sure then. I wish we would have recorded those. We had a lot of fun playing those. Speaking of, well, no, that was 52. I guess I was, or 24. I was the 24 character. Jack, not Jack Ryan. What was the other? Jack
Bauer.
Yeah, Jack Bauer. One of the characters I rolled was Jack Bauer, and there was a tragic end to that character, which was total bummer. Get wrecked, Jack Bauer. Rip. Spoilers. So yeah, there's that. That's coming out. We did Jaws of the Lion. What else? I saw they were taking words out of Scrabble. Did you see that?
How do you take words out of Scrabble?
So apparently there are Scrabble tournaments. Don't know why that exists. You people need to find better things to do with your time. But apparently there is a long list of what they consider triggering words.
Oh boy.
That they are pulling out of the tournament, and if you use them, you will not get points, and possibly worse. I didn't read the whole article because I was like, it triggered me.
Apparently the English language is just not. Never mind. Yet I'm not doing it. I'm not going to go down that trail.
To be fair, one of the main words they pulled out was the N-word, which I guess I get, but it is a word, and Scrabble is a game of words.
Like yeah, I mean it's a game where like you are simply taking your knowledge of the entire English language and turning it into points.
The entire lexicon of words and spelling them.
Exactly. And so like obviously there are some words that are taboo, and there's many words that are taboo, but unless you have,
they are still words.
Still words, exactly. Like it's, I don't know. On the one hand, I totally get people not wanting to use said words. On the second hand, I'd if it was not already in place to not use taboo words in tournaments, it seems odd to just suddenly start doing it. And maybe there have always been some taboo.
Oh, this is 100% placating to the current culture problem. This isn't anybody Scrabble giving a fuck.
Like, it wouldn't surprise me if there were always some level of like, don't use fuck, like tournament rules. And if there's at least some of that already in there, if you wanted to add some words to it, at least at that point, it seems in line in some way with what's already been happening in the past. But if there has never been any limitations, and now there suddenly are,
I don't know and probably don't care, but from what I understood, this was a giant virtue signal. It was, hey, look at us. We're Scrabble. Nobody cares.
We ain't a boomer game anymore. We're hip.
All I have to say is Scrabble solved racism. Like, obviously, they fixed it. They fixed all the problems with our society by not letting you spell a particular word
for a game.
It's not a word I want to use, but it's like, I just want to know if that's ever actually happened. Who had the stones, even at a Scrabble tournament? I'm guessing that's never happened in the I would bet money. I will $10 Somebody figure this out. I'll give them
That there are probably a handful of black men who play Scrabble, and they probably
in a
are
tournament setting is where I'm going with this.
just adding
In an
this one.
official like national championship Scrabble sponsored tournament.
If you need the points and it's all you got,
Yeah, no,
there,
I'm not saying you shouldn't.
it probably happened.
I'm just saying I have a hard time believing that scenario exists. Which is why I believe this is a ridiculous virtue signal, because I'm guessing there's not a rampant amount of people running around at Scrabble tournaments throwing the N-word on the board. Like that seems just out of control to me. So that's a thing, though. That was in some board game news I was reading. I was like, good for you, Scrabble. You did it. You solved it.
They are fixing all of this world's problems, one tournament at a time.
I also, this is video game news, if it's called news. I'm late to the train because I wanted to wait until it got cheap. But during the summer sale, Steam had Doom Eternal.
Mm-hmm.
So if anybody knows me, which you probably don't because I'm just screaming into the void every day, all day. But if you did know me, you know that the last Doom 2016 reboot is one of my favorite things on the planet. The soundtrack is one of the best video game soundtracks of all time, period. I will not take arguments. It is way, way, way up there. It is so good. The gameplay is great. It's immersive. It's just super well done. Bethesda just nails the whole spirit of Doom. It's hard. It's fun. So I was excited for Eternal to come out. It's now $30 or was. I don't know if the Steam summer sale is still going on, but if it is, you can go out there and get it. It's only $30. And I loaded it up and I played it on stream for like 3 hours the other day. It's good. It's really, really good. The soundtrack is still there. It still sounds awesome. I'll admit that it is not as shockingly awesome to hear the soundtrack the second time, even though it's not the same. But it's very similar. It's still super good. But the first time you booted up Doom 2016 and you heard that menu, like the soundtrack, you're just like, oh, so good. I'll say this: it adds a lot of what I feel is a little unnecessary platforming, but they do a good job at it, so it's okay. Because there's like all these like double jump, weird like grab onto monkey bars and swing yourself platforming stuff, which I just want to kill demons. I don't want to platform as much, but they do a good job with it. And I'll say this is just like my mini review of Doom Eternal. I will say my biggest complaint, which I found really, really odd, and I couldn't figure it out at first, is the story elements and I'll even throw like, this doesn't sound related at first, the menu for like the settings and just the main menu lack all sense of immersion that the 2016 game had. Like the menus were super pretty in the first one and they like kind of moved in and had the theme of the game, and then all of like the story elements of the game kind of kept you moving and felt like a story you were getting immersed into. And for some reason in Eternal, every time I play, like those story elements are there, but they don't seem to immerse you. And the menu looks like it was a complete afterthought. What I think they were trying to do is trying to make it look a little more retro from the first one to give it kind of a retro feel, but it just looks bad. And it kind of like it's weird every time you go into the menus to change a setting or like start the game, you get this really just kind of not good looking menu. And I know it's a weird complaint, but it actually takes me out of the game. Like the 2016 one, just everything jived and it just sucked you in. Like everything, the menus, the story, the music. This has parts that are jarringly not like smooth, and I don't know, takes you out. So anyway, I've been playing a lot of Doom Eternal, and it's good. Like for $30, it was super good. I'm kind of glad I didn't pay 60 for it at this point, but I feel like I'm alone on that because almost everybody says it's amazing. And I'm not going to argue. The gameplay is super good. I just don't feel like it's nearly as immersive.
I feel like what you're describing is what a lot of people would consider the extras, where like they would not necessarily consider like the menu system and all that sort of stuff as being like the core of the game, although it can make a nice touch. And so the people who are like, it's the best thing ever, are probably just playing the game and ignoring the menus. Whereas I have not played either one, and it does sound like the 2016 reboot is really well done. And when you add that extra stuff on top of it, it just kind of takes a really good game
Right.
and that much better.
I'm trying to remember back to my original Doom and Doom 2, Doom 3, days. And I'm trying to remember if so here's I guess now that I'm thinking about what I would add is it feels more arcadey, if that makes sense. Like,
Sure.
so I don't know if Doom 2 had a more arcade type feel to it. I don't remember that difference. I just felt they just both were basically the same game, just with new content. As many 90 games were. But for some reason I feel like even the power-ups in the game feel like the artistic styles changed, and it's like more arcadey. Like the difference between like a straight up Madden game and NFL Blitz, right? Like there's that arcade feel to it where things are a little bit brighter and over the top, and you get kind of an arcade feel when you find things and do things, and you get that arcade feel to it. And I didn't feel arcadey at all, if that's a word, in the first one. Like I said, everything jived and just kind of immersed you into this world. And this one, I feel like those elements that feel like they're more like they're trying to stylize it that way. I feel like they're trying to do that, but to me, I feel it missed, which is just kind of weird. So anyway, that's Doom. I know you didn't play it, so we don't have to sit on here forever, but I did feel that was worth ranting about, because I did feel 2016 was one. If you have not played Doom 2016 and you are even remotely interested in it, you should. It is graphic. If you don't like highly graphic games with lots of violence and like kind of gore and devil type stuff, imagery and satanic imagery and all that kind of stuff, I could get where it's an uncomfortable game to play. There were times where I was uncomfortable, and I don't get uncomfortable with that stuff really at all. But that was part of what made it awesome. I was like, oh my God, what just happened? This is ridiculous.
I'm trouble. This is amazing.
Yeah. Exactly. It pushed the boundary of things, and it was great. The style, just as a metalhead and everything too, so maybe I'm coming at it from a little bit of a bias, but I don't care who you are. If you can't get some joy out of that soundtrack, hell, just go listen to the soundtrack for a little bit. You don't have to listen to the whole thing. Get on YouTube, pull up some of the soundtrack and just listen to it for a little bit. If you can't appreciate to some level the technical awesomeness of that soundtrack, you're not human, because it's so good. It may not be your thing. I would understand that you don't want to listen to it forever. But if you can't listen to some like couple minutes of it and not realize that it is just brilliant, I don't know what to tell you. I just don't. But Doom Eternal is great too. So if you haven't played Doom Eternal yet and you like the first one, and you can get it for $30, I would highly recommend you continue the saga. But I am, a part of me is glad I didn't pay $60 like I did for the first one. So.
I feel like the only game thing, which I don't know if I mentioned last time or not, that I have that you've probably not played, is Golf Story, an RPG.
Golf Story, an RPG.
Which is the most ridiculous but amazingly fun game that I have played on my Switch probably so far.
Oh, it's a Switch game. Oh yeah, look at this. It's like a top-down, like almost 8-bit Zelda-looking golf game.
Yep. And so like you play through as somebody who is your dad just died, and now you feel like you have to live up to
Jesus.
Making you like as a kid, your dad was raising you to be the greatest golf prodigy of all time, and then you went off and did your own thing, but now that he's gone, you feel you have to live up to it, so you go off to start golfing and be really good. And
we're gonna start real heavy.
Yeah. It's ridiculous in the sense that it is literally an RPG where you just walk around and you interact with people. You can quote unquote tee up at any point on the map and just hit towards anything for any reason whatsoever. And so like the very first course that you're on, you're running around and just like doing these little quests to unlock the course so you can actually play it properly. But like part of the quest is like there are these 4 buttons hidden around the screen that you can just tee up and just try to hit randomly. You meet a group of disc golfers in the back of the course who have hijacked one of the holes and put their basket in, and they are very, very cocky and are all about how forward-thinking disc golf is, and like how they're just way too cool for real golf, essentially.
Apparently,
but to both disc golf and regular golf as part of the game too, which is fantastic.
That's awesome. I've never heard of such a thing. This looks awesome. Apparently, there is a sequel called Sports Story, which is a Tennessee version of it.
Well, I want to do that then, because the whole reason I bought this was because back in the Game Boy Advance days, Mario Golf and Mario Tennis on the Advance were both RPGs where like you played a character at like a private academy school, sports academy school place, and learned to play tennis and leveled up a character, or learned to play golf and leveled up your character. And then you could import those characters into the Nintendo 64 equivalent games, which were just straight up arcade games, but you could have your RPG character that you leveled up. And so when I saw this, I was like, oh, like the Mario Tennis and golf games were amazing, and I would totally love to play something like that. And this has made me, it's not the same, but it's very close to that. So if they have a tennis version out there, I need to get it.
Yeah, it's just called Sports Story, and this time it's not just golf. Oh, it looks like there's all sorts of stuff. Football, volleyball.
Sports. I'll have to look that up after this then, because that...
Made by the same company. It's supposed to be some expanded sequel. And it's only mid-2020, it said, so I don't know if it's come out yet or not.
That being said, you should, if you have a chance to get it on sale or something, you should get Golf Story, because it's great.
I might. What's it normally go for? Is it a $60 game because Nintendo's crazy?
No, I think it's normally probably like 20 or 25 bucks or something. I think I grabbed it for like 10.
I don't see it. What's it called? RPG Golf Story?
It's just called Golf Story, I think.
$15.
Yeah, so that's not too bad. 15 bucks brand new, or not brand new. Obviously, it's a digital game, but 15 bucks for it normally.
Is there a point, like, do you end up like entering tournaments and stuff and like trying to win, or?
Yeah, so like there's a storyline that goes with it. Like I think there's like 6 or 7 courses, and each course is basically made up out of 2 parts. It's a actual golf course, which generally you don't have access to right away. You have to like go around the open grounds area doing different missions, or basically doing little quests, and eventually you do all the quests and you unlock the actual course, and then you can play the course, which there's usually a storyline reason to play the course. And so I have just gotten to the 3rd course's open area. So I've not played that one yet, and there's still like 4 or 5 more I got to go through. But it is pretty cool and pretty fun, and very much worth 15 bucks, I would say, from what I've played so far.
Awesome. Learn something new every day. That game does look fun. We've been playing, did I mention we were playing Minecraft Dungeons on the Switch?
I think you did. But I have also been playing some Minecraft Dungeons on the Xbox.
It's cross-platform, so you can play it on wherever you want, I guess. Or no, it's not yet. No, they didn't do that yet. Because I was going to play down here and let everybody else play upstairs. That game's fun. The wife and I actually... So the night before you came over to play Jaws of the Lion, we sat on the couch just like decompressing because we shipped the kids off. And I think we played like 4 hours or more of Minecraft Dungeons, and it was a blast. we were just going around and getting new equipment and upgrading stuff and crushing dungeons, and
It's pretty like it's simple, but it's fun.
Yeah. Oh, we did talk about it because I was talking about how Yahtzee from Zero Punctuation shit all over it, which is his job. But for some reason, I felt like this time would be different because I like the game for a cheap. It's a cheap little game. It's not anything crazy, and they already announced a bunch of content for it. So
Yeah, it's a game that my group that I've been still every once in a long while playing Pirates on Sea of Thieves with. We've kind of jumped into the Minecraft dungeon a little bit as well, which really we haven't been playing much of anything recently, but those are kind of the two that we've done a little bit with. That, and we still sometimes just go back and play Left 4 Dead 2.
I would like to play more Pirates. I really enjoy Sea of Thieves as like a palate cleanser. It's not a game I want to sit there and play every night on stream, but every week or two to get on and just spend a night.
Just sailing the high seas, splash some skeletons.
It's quite a good game. I just wish,
which it is out on Steam now for those of you who don't want to do the Microsoft Store.
does it even matter at this point? Like, I feel like everybody has like 8 different
platforms
now.
Still just humors me when these people who like force their own platform and then after like a year or whatever they finally just put it on Steam just because. Okay,
that's true. There's definitely some of that, which gets weird. I was looking through my tweets real quick to see if there's anything else, and I noticed that I sent a tweet for this and it never went up. So sweet.
Is it sweet?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's fine. I timed it. I set it up for a timer. I must have done something wrong. So who knows when that timer is going to go off? People are going to be like, "What? You're not on right now."
What is this?
I'm just kidding. Nobody will see it. All right, Ryan. Well, we made it through most of the night. Was there anything else we missed?
I don't think so. The only other thing I had was going back to the disc golf thing, which was just I have discovered an app that is not really all that new, but apparently it's new to me, which is UDisc.
UDisc, okay.
Which is officially, I guess, sponsored by the PDGA, which is the Professional Disc Golf Association. But essentially, it's a phone app, and it's really, really good. Like it has basically every course you can imagine on it, and it actually allows, like if you go to play a course that isn't already mapped, it'll ask you to basically GPS signal hit on every tee box and every hole, and then
map it out.
And map it out. And then if it's one that's already mapped, which all the ones I've played so far have already been mapped, it will show you an overall layout map. So when you get to the end of a tee, if there's not markings or anything telling you where to go, you can just look at the app and it will give you a little dotted line pointing in the right direction towards the next tee. Plus you can look at, it's all satellite image, so like you can just look at every fairway and look at it. Like if it's a blind shot and there's no signs, you can pull it up and be like, oh, so the basket has to be over there somewhere. And it's really easy, really simple. Allows you can like measure your throws and stuff with it too, using GPS stuff. Yeah, it's just a neat little app.
That sounds good. We didn't have anything fancy like that when I used to disc golf.
No, it's like I just discovered it like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it's pretty great.
It is pretty great.
That was really the only other thing I had on my list.
I like
this
disc
week
golf.
With some board game streaming.
Yes, pick a night and should we? I guess what's the deal? Should we just keep doing Jaws of the Lion? Just us 3? I mean, I'm okay with that.
I'm okay. We could add in a 4th person pretty easy too at this point, especially with somebody who already kind of knows the game. But I'm okay with the 3 of us too.
I mean, I don't know what Steven's schedule is, but if he wants to jump in or if we find another 4th, I would be okay with that too. The nice thing about us three is that's probably easier for scheduling purposes.
That's true.
And the games probably go a little faster with only three.
That's true.
But yeah, if we want to keep doing that, or I guess we never decided either if we wanted a fourth person for Legacy Clank. So either of those things, I'd be down for.
I'm also down for either of those. I mean, I'm also up for just playing games, whether it is Terraforming Mars or Spirit Island or Viking spreadsheets.
Beast of Odin. Someday you'll get Spirit Island done. We've tried multiple times.
Well, we've tried once, but we've had it available multiple times.
Right. You've brought it and presented it as an option multiple times. One time we actually tried and it was missing pieces because some Yahoo borrowed pieces out of it or mixed something up with different sets.
Copy of the game. I grabbed somebody else's whose copy was at the house and thought it was mine. And I had all of the pieces together in mine. And he had the expansion box and the regular box, but he took components that were part of the base game and kept them in the expansion
box. So
when I brought just the base game, there were things missing because those things were in the expansion box and we could not. It was very sad. Also, I need to check with Steven to see what we're going to do Thursday night because he is traveling for work this week, leaving tomorrow, and I don't know if he will be back Thursday. And if he's at a hotel, he should still, in theory, be able to play.
Okay.
But I don't know.
I would love to do a little bit regular job at it. I just don't want to start it if we aren't going to be able to do it somewhat consistently, even if it's just every other week. So,
well, I'm for doing Jaws of the Lion, just the three of us. I'm good with that.
Okay.
We can put it out.
Well, you pick whatever night, Friday or Saturday, and we can start this weekend if you want.
All right. Let me check some things. I think I have to go to Kalkaska Saturday afternoon, but that doesn't mean I couldn't do it Saturday night.
Well, regardless, if you want to keep up on that and you would like to watch one of our live board game broadcasts and chime in and watch and ask questions about the game and whatever else, interact with us, follow me on my socials. My Twitter's kind of a shit show, but that's where I mostly put my stuff there. And I'll apologize ahead of time. I've been more and more unfiltered there, which is probably whatever. Or you can go to Instagram, where I don't do a great job of updating, but it is not a shit show. It is just pictures of stream related stuff and board game stuff. But check those out. Please, if you're watching this, just as a favor to me, click that YouTube panel down below and click the subscribe button. I'm trying to, we got over 50 now, and I would like to get to 100, just so I can have
we can do it. My
own custom URL. I think that would just be a fun goal to have by the end of the year. Let's see if we can get 100 subscribers on YouTube. While you're there, if you want to check out previous versions of this podcast, they're all up there. I think most of them are up there. I try it's to get them up there in some kind of timely manner, but there's a good chunk of them. You can watch through all those. We can watch through all the Gloomhaven stuff. There's some other projects I've had in mind. If I ever get some time, I will probably be posting stuff there, so subscribe there for new content or to be able to rewatch some of this content. And I think that's pretty much it. We're here every other Monday from 9 to 11, rocking it out like this. You can interact, you can talk and chat, and we just kind of bring up nerdy stuff that we like. Again, Gloomhaven Thursday nights live here on the stream. And other than that, I am here just playing video games, mostly like Apex or Magic the Gathering or Doom or whatever I'm planning on playing Sunday through Thursday, almost every single night, starting at 9 p.m. Eastern time. So that's all I really got for tonight. Ryan, you good?
Good.
All right. In that case, goodbye, Internet.
Peace out, Internet.